On today's show, we're talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about frost seeding an existing annual plot from the year before. We have an old Beets and Greens plot. We're going to take you through step by step and show you our success.
Alright, this plot here, one of my favorite plots on the whole property. This is called the cattail plot, and we've shot a bunch of deer here. My daughter's first buck, my son's first deer, my wife's first deer, we're all shot here. Just been a great plot. In this upper half, we had Beets and Greens last year. They absolutely destroyed it. You can see it now, nothing but stubble and that, but what we're doing, it's set to be rotated, so we're frost seeding it with Fusion. I'm expecting this plot always produces and does really well for us.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the technical aspects and what you're going to need to do to be successful at having frost seeding work in one of your existing annual plots like your Beets and Greens or your turnips. In the past, you've seen I've done a bunch of frost seeding shows on frost seeding existing perennial plots. In the past, traditionally, frost seeding has been a great way to extend the life of those perennials like your chicory and your clover, your fusion blends, things like that. It's great at filling in bare spots, having it come in more lush that summer. So that's how we've always used frost seeding in the past. But over the years, I saw more and more guys talking about frost seeding their annual plot from the year before, like a Beets and Greens, a Pure Attraction, turnips, whatever it might be, and they were having pretty good success. So I called Whitetail Institute. They were very apprehensive, and mainly because there are a ton of variables of things that can go wrong when you do this, but they said, hey, why don't you give it a whirl? So for the past 3 years, we have been doing this, and we just kind of wanted to compile some data, get some figures, but we've seen about a 60% success rate of our plots that were annuals the year before, and then we frost seeded with a perennial blend like Fusion and Imperial Clover. So if you're willing to burn a bag of seed and know that there are a lot of variables and things that could possibly go wrong, frost seeding your annual plot from the year before is a great way not to disturb the soil. At the end of the day, all you're really gonna have in it is that bag of seed. If it doesn't work, you disc it up in the fall and you plant a fall blend. So that's been the general story with us. We've had a lot of success so far. The next question we receive a lot of is, what can you frost seed with? And you want to frost seed with a hard seed. You don't want to frost seed with a soft seed. It'll get in the soil, it's wet this time of year, and it'll just rot. So we generally always frost seed with Imperial Clover, Fusion. You can also frost seed with Alpha Rack or Chick Magnet. But when we're looking at doing plots that were in annuals the year before, I would highly recommend staying with blends like Fusion and Imperial Clover. We just had better success with those in these annual plots. So those are the kinds of seeds that you can use to actually frost seed these plots with. Now let's talk a little bit about when you want to frost seed. And obviously there's people from all different parts of the country. I'm from Northwest Pennsylvania, and I like to frost seed right at the end of winter. The main thing you want is when it's freezing and thawing. It's freezing at night and it's thawing. It's gonna suck those seeds down in the ground. So for us, that's usually anywhere in March, even early April is when I generally like to frost seed. If you're from the South, you're looking more February. And we also say in the South, you want to stay away from sandy soils. It's not a great way to be successful is frost seeding in any type of sandy soil. The next question I receive a lot from all across the country is, what kind of equipment do I need to frost seed? And one of the best things about frost seeding is you need one piece of equipment. You're gonna need a shoulder hand spreader. That's all I ever use for any of my frost seeding food plots. And you hear a lot of buzzwords out there and people talking about soil health and not disturbing that soil. You wanna disc it until it as little as you possibly can. That's another awesome thing about frost seeding, is that you're not gonna disturb that soil at all. You're already getting good seed soil contact, so the only piece of equipment that you need for this is a shoulder spreader. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what is the seeding rate that you want to do. So it's a little bit different. Think of it for a plot that was an annual the year before that never had any clover or chicory or fusion or any type of perennial in it, as compared to a perennial plot that was already in clover and chicory or whatever that perennial was. I like to frost seed much heavier in an existing annual plot. And just think of it, like I said, there was no clover or fusion there before. And when you're doing an existing plot, you're just kind of filling in those bare spots. You're making it, you're hoping that it makes it more full and lush. Well, with an annual plot, you're more or less doing a whole new plot. So your germination rate's probably gonna be a little bit less. So I like to do at least what the bag calls for and possibly a little bit more than even what a new planting would be. Now, one of the most important things that we can talk about, I think a lot of people overlook when it comes to frost seeding, they think they frost seed and they're done. First of all, and we maybe should have hit on this a little bit earlier, I soil sample all my food plots every single year. And some people say that's overkill, but with this and planting in an annual plot, if you can do a soil sample of those, months in advance and get lime on there if it needs it, because you got to think that fertilizer and lime needs are going to be a lot different than if it was already in an existing perennial plot. So if you can soil sample months in advance, get the lime in the ground, make sure you get the fertilizer. People ask, when do I put the fertilizer on the food plot? I like to do it once it starts to green up. I don't have to do it right when I plant or earlier. But when we start to see that turning green, I like to hit it with the fertilizer. It gives it the boost that it needs. So don't forget to soil sample your plots. I soil sample all my plots every single year, but especially in this case, when you're frost seeding an existing annual plot, you want to make sure that you're soil sampling every single year. Lastly, let's talk about, again, they're all important steps, but this is one of the most important, and again, a step that a lot of guys overlook. They think, okay, I go out, I put the seed down, I'm done, I sit back and watch it grow. Well, when you're doing an existing annual plot, you're gonna be dealing most likely with weeds and grasses. You're gonna wanna spray those. You're gonna need to get out ahead of them. So what we like to say, once that clover and chicory or whatever your food plot is 3 or 4 inches tall and you start seeing a bunch of weeds, you're gonna wanna hit it with the Arrest Max for grasses from Whitetail Institute, along with Slay, which is for broadleaf weeds, and the Surefire crop oil. And then throughout the summer, you're gonna wanna mow. And that's what we do all the time for all of our food plots. Makes them very healthy, great way to control the weeds. With the herbicides early in the year, get control of those weeds, and then continue to mow throughout the summer whenever it needs. We're gonna be doing some mowing shows and things like that, and talk a little bit more about those aspects, but as far as mowing, just make sure you're not mowing when it's real dry. If it's wet and you're getting lots of rain, that's a great time to mow. I like to mow when you see those clover heads top out. Great way to spread the germination and things like that. So again, that's a big, big step in having a healthy plot and making sure it establishes the best that it can.
All right, as you saw way earlier in the year, late winter, early spring, we had an existing Beets and Greens plot, and we tried something new. We frost seeded it with Fusion, and I was in here the other day, and it has absolutely turned out perfect. We mowed it, and it's all clover chicory, but that's what we're doing today. We're gonna take you back and take a look at this plot, but super excited about something brand new we tried with just frost seeding this plot. Let me just say it turned out really well. Okay, it is mid-August here, and we wanted to bring you back in. As you saw in the late winter, early spring, what we did was we came in here and we frost seeded this. Now, this was an existing annual plot, Beets and Greens, and we've never done this before. If you've seen our other shows, we've frost seeded many, many times our perennial plots. Great way at filling in those bare spots, making those plots more lush, but we've never tried it with an annual. And as you can see, we had great results. We did this with Fusion from Whitetail Institute, which is chicory and clover. and it filled in absolutely awesome. So appears to be a really effective method. When it's time to rotate those annual plots, you can frost seed it in the spring, have a great looking plot.